So let's have a little chat, shall we? Yes, let's have a little chat. It's been a while since I had a little occult chat. I really don't have time to make videos as much as I used to because I'm always busy, with life. And then, my partner, he lives with me. And sometimes I want to be able to talk freely without him hearing everything that I'm saying, because I like to really get down when I talk. And it's kind of hard to do that when someone else is in your space. You feel what I'm saying? So, or when you share space with someone, let me say it that way. I don't know where to begin, but I'm going to begin somewhere. I want to talk about the spirit of minding your own motherfucking business. Let's talk about that. People get fucked up each and every day for not minding their fucking business. Crack is still a powerful entity over the black community. And because they are gentrifying DC so much, they are pushing all of the crackheads out into PG County, where I live at, Maryland, the PG County area, the Maryland area, which is where I live at, which is PG County is really a suburb, depending upon where you live. It's a suburb of DC. And they're pushing all of the crackheads and the rats and trash. I'm not talking about the four-legged rats. I'm talking about the two-legged rats. They're pushing them all out into the areas of DC. The areas in PG County that were once very reputable, clean, crime-free areas. They're pushing all of the trash out in this area now. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. This crackhead bitch approached my man. Not on one occasion, but on two occasions, right? And she approached him trying to figure out what house he was going into. Let's just say that. And immediately when he told me that, I went looking for that bitch. Because, see, I don't consider crackhead women, I don't consider them women. Because if you're that bold to confront grown men that you don't even fucking know, my boyfriend could have been a motherfucking serial killer. He could have been a murderer. He could have been a rapist. He could have been anybody. And this bitch is sitting up here approaching him, questioning him, right? Doesn't matter what the provocation is. She's approaching him and questioning him, right? She did this shit motherfucking twice. Well, maybe not twice, but she did it once too motherfucking many, right? And this bitch is married to a retarded motherfucker that she takes advantage of. And she's an old, scraggly, broke down, half dead bitch. Probably about 59, 60 years old. She may be younger, but the bitch has done so much crack and drugs, and she's fucked her life up so fucking much. Crackheads are dangerous fucking people. When they are up under that type of spell work, they are dangerous motherfucking people, and you have to respond accordingly. I don't consider crackhead women females. I consider them entities in a female vessel, but they don't have the spirit of a female. This bitch is running around stepping to grown men, approaching them. So, bitch, in my eyesight, you ain't no motherfucking woman. You ain't no motherfucking woman. And this is no disrespect to any black women that watch me, but there are certain women, there are certain motherfucking women who have female features, but what's the spirit behind them? Same thing with men. What's the spirit behind them? She got that crack spirit on her. And that spirit is very dangerous, and you have to be very aggressive with that spirit. This bitch approached my motherfucking friend. And see, my friend is a gentleman. I'm not. I'm not. Let me say it again. I am not. I'm like I told somebody once before, I am a vindictive, sinister Virgo. I am a vindictive, sinister Virgo. That is why I have stood the test of time here on YouTube. Even when I was under my Shaman Rising account, when people were coming after me. What did I do? I got them motherfuckers the fuck up off me. I used my motherfucking voodoo and got them motherfuckers the fuck up off of me. And I know what people are probably thinking. Oh, you put a... No, I ain't talking about no dolls and putting pins and needles and none of that. I'm talking about doing some real motherfucking shit to get enemies the fuck up off of you. So this is not about disrespecting females, because this woman, I don't consider her a woman because she has a very aggressive nature. So when I finally caught up with this bitch a couple of weeks back, because she tried to subtly check me, I cussed that bitch out unmercifully in front of her bitch ass motherfucking husband, and I told her, now go get your motherfucking bitch ass son. I cussed that bitch out. I called her every crackhead, dirty, prostituting bitch that I could in front of a group of motherfucking people in the neighborhood. I cussed that bitch out. It was so bad. It was so bad. There was a police officer there, a white police lady. She had to calm me down. She had to literally put her hands on me. It was a white police officer. She put her hands on me to calm me the fuck down because they thought I was going to hit the bitch. But no, I wasn't going to hit her. Let me be clear. I wasn't going to put my hands on her. But I wanted that bitch to know that what she did was unacceptable. You don't mind other people's motherfucking business. And if it was a dude, it would have got worse because I would have put hands on him. You don't get in other people's motherfucking lane, and you don't get in other people's motherfucking business. That's the problem with black people. Always in somebody else's motherfucking business. But this ain't about black people. We talking about crackheads. We talking about the spirit of crackheads and how crack has destroyed the black motherfucking community. And there's a difference between a person that's on crack and a crackhead. A crackhead is a dirty, gutter rat man or woman that will do anything. A person that's on crack, they smoking and going on about their motherfucking business and they don't bother no motherfucking body. But crackheads like to fuck with people. And they like to get in people's business and get in people's lane. And bitch, this bitch, what she does not realize is she fucked with the wrong motherfucking one. Because I'm going to keep my foot on that bitch's motherfucking head. Spiritually, not physically, but spiritually, I'm going to keep my foot on that bitch's motherfucking head. And I don't care who gets offended by it because you don't get in another person's lane. Now again, this is no reflection on females. We're talking about a crackhead who is a danger. They are a health risk and they are a danger to the community. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. They are both danger. And I do everything in my motherfucking power to get these motherfuckers the fuck out of our fucking community. You do not want crackheads in your community. You do not want crackheads in your community. They are diseased. They bring disease, they bring crime, and they bring problems. I grew up in DC in the 1990s. I saw the destruction that crack brought into the community, even within my own family. But the thing about me is I never got addicted to no motherfucking drugs because I don't need them. I don't need weed. Nothing against people that smoke weed. I don't need weed. I don't need alcohol. I'm good. I don't need any of that. When you know how to tap into levels, certain levels of consciousness, you can get that euphoric feeling without those types of drugs. Now, I'm not talking about weed. I'm talking about the crack. Now, if you're a person and you do what you do, you going on about your business, that's one thing. But when you getting up in other people's business and you're trying to start shit, especially in my business, bitch, we got a fucking problem. You don't get in my motherfucking man's face on a motherfucking thing. I don't care if you a man or a motherfucking woman. And see, what ended up happening was my mother, who don't live that far from me now. My mother don't live that far from me now. My mother found out what was going on and she was getting ready to whoop that bitch's motherfucking ass. My mother said, no, see, you can't put your hands on no woman. No, I wasn't going to put my hands on her, but I cussed that bitch out. I most certainly did. I cussed that crackhead bitch out. I cussed her out to the white fucking meat. And if she walking around tomorrow, anything happens to me, I'm gonna sue. Bitch, you better hope you alive before you can collect. Because you already got the fucking shakes. No, what it was, she thought that she could trick with my friend. She thought that my friend was one of those guys that she could trick with. He came back in here and we were laughing at that fucking crackhead bitch. And all those crackhead motherfucking niggas. The men too. We had an incident, not that on the next street over, not that far from me, where this crackhead, this nigga, went into this older lady's house that was in her 90s, white lady. But I don't give a fuck, it was still wrong. Because we all know her. He went into her house and robbed that lady and assaulted her. Guess what? They got him. They got that motherfucking nigga. They got it. You don't do shit like that. All of these motherfucking men out here and women, but mainly men, if he was that desperate for money, why don't you do what men back in the day that was on drugs used to do? Men back in the day, when they wanted their drugs, they would go sell their dick to gay men and get them some motherfucking drugs. And then on top of that, he only stole $50 from that lady. Stole 50. He did all of that for $50 fucking dollars. That's a crackhead. If I had my way, that motherfucker wouldn't be breathing. Because I don't like people taking advantage of elderly people. You don't do shit like that. And that is why I say crackheads are a danger to our community. That spirit is a danger. That entity, it's not even a spirit. It's spell work and it's an entity that was created. It is a problem. It is a problem. And this bitch that I had to cuss out, she also takes advantage of elderly people. Let me tell you what this bitch was doing. To an elderly woman who has MS. Let me tell you what this bitch was doing until her daughters found out what she was doing and they were getting ready to whoop this bitch's ass. Let me tell you what this bitch was doing. She was cooking dinner for this elderly woman, right? This is another elderly woman. This is a black elderly woman that she was cooking dinner for, right? See, these crackheads, this is what they do. They try to target people who they think are marks and easy marks. Let me tell you what this bitch did. She was cooking dinner. Not just dinner, she was cooking meals for this elderly black woman who has MS. And the elderly black woman that she was cooking for, this woman does not have a lot of money. Most older people are on fixed incomes. And this is such as the case with this woman that she was cooking for. This crackhead bitch was cooking for this woman and charging her $10 for breakfast, $10 for lunch, and $10 for dinner. And then she was up in this woman's house, from what I understand, stealing from her. This woman's daughters found out about it, and her daughters are very masculine gay sisters, gay lesbian sisters. They found out what she was doing, and they confronted that bitch, and they was getting ready to whoop her motherfucking ass. And guess what she did? That punk crackhead bitch gave them that money back. This crackhead bitch is so fucking toxic, her own son tried to kill her. Her son tried to murder her. Because she's been an abusive, toxic crackhead bitch most of her fucking life. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of a rant right now. Because I don't like crackheads. I ain't got no problem with people that smoke crack. If that's what you do, that's what you do. Stay in your motherfucking lane. That's what you do. You don't get in other people's lanes. Crackheads get in other people's lanes. That's what they do. They get in other people's lanes and they try to start shit with other people. And that was the case with this crackhead bitch that I had to check. When I tell you it was people it was like 4 or 5 people besides that police officer that had to hold me back. And they were holding me back, number one, because I was upset. I wasn't going to put my hands on her. Not at all. I wasn't going to do that. I'm not crazy. Okay? I wasn't going to put my hands on her. I wasn't going to touch her. But it was just my delivery and my body language that gave off that, okay, we got to step in. That white police officer, very nice lady, she had to put hands on me, child. Not in a violent way, but she had to calm me down. She had to calm me down. But guess what? The whole motherfucking time, even though I cussed that bitch out and called her every motherfucking name in the book, how about this? Everybody, just about, I believe, was on my motherfucking side. Because they knew that crackhead bitch was wrong. And they know that she's a troublemaker in this motherfucking neighborhood and in this motherfucking community. Because we were at a community center having a community meeting about the crime taking place in the neighborhood. And see, I'm going to tell y'all something. See, we've gotten to the place as black people where we don't believe in working with the police. See, I believe in working with the police. There are things you can do. And I'm going to say it like this. You should work with the police. Because I'm going to tell you something. My voodoo or my magic is what prevented me from going to jail that day. And that is what prevented the police from turning against me. See, that crackhead bitch didn't know what she was up against when she was fucking with Sia Grant. A.K.A. Bagoo. She didn't know who the fuck she was playing with when she was fucking with me. And I don't say that in no egotistical way. I say that in a truthful way. She didn't know what she was up against. She didn't know the spiritual protection that was around me that she was going to have to face. So even though I was the perceived aggressor verbally, not physically, but verbally, it was already predetermined by spirit that I was right. I understand, and spirit showed me something. It said, you know what? We get policing and all that. We get that. But I'm going to tell you something. You can do spell work. See, this is where black people get it twisted. You can do spell work. You can do spell work to have the police department eating out of your motherfucking hand. Because that situation that happened that day, for all intent, because I've actually spoken to people at the police department after this happened, and the police officer that came out, it was a young white girl that came out. Some of her colleagues, from what I'm told, asked her, well, why didn't you call for backup? And she told them, I didn't need backup. Because she didn't, because she knew that I wasn't a threat. You know, she knew that I wasn't a threat. You know, and I really commend her because she was a short lady. She was a short police officer. And for her to come up against a nice sized person like myself, a nice tall person like myself, very strong looking person like myself, for her to have done that, I actually have a little bit of respect that she did that. You know, she gets a little bit of respect from me for that. That she had the courage to come up and say, no, stop. Don't let this do. She was really trying to prevent me from getting in trouble. And I had to tell her, I said, that wasn't directed at you. That was for that crackhead bitch. And they already knew that I was not at fault. And that is what magic, that's what your magic and your voodoo, or whatever you want to call it, that is what it's for. To keep you out of those types of situations where you may be able to get in trouble. To keep people on your side. To have people up under your motherfucking spell. And I'm going to tell you something. No shade, no motherfucking read. But they were all on my side. Everything was working in my favor. And it still is. Because that crackhead bitch didn't know the legion she was coming up against. She didn't know the voodoo or the magic that she was going to be facing when she came up against me. So when I sat back and said, well, damn, the popo had to almost subdue me. And when I say subdue me, I don't mean put me on the ground or nothing like that. She put her hand in the middle of my stomach just to keep me, to push me back. Because when we were in that community meeting at the community center, having that meeting about crime in the community, I couldn't understand why this crackhead bitch was there anyway. Because she's one of the major problems. There were several crackheads at that meeting. And I'm like, what? But now I know why. Because they want to know what's going on so they can maneuver and find out, you know, what's going on. That's what they do. They're creeps. And I want to warn people that there's an uptick of crackheads that they're pushing, and this is in all major cities. They're pushing a lot of these crackheads and weirdos and drug addicts. They're pushing them out into nicer areas that were once nicer areas. And they're causing problems and crimes and stuff like that. Giving them government assisted housing. Saying that, oh, their drug addiction is a disability and all that old bullshit. And this is nothing against people who have real addiction issues. This is not against that at all. This is not being insensitive to that at all. But I'm talking about people who are, because these types of people, they are even a threat to people who are sober, who are working to rebuild their lives. They're a threat to those types of people as well. But they push them out into nicer areas, trying to give them a chance to rebuild their lives. But these motherfuckers do enough in rehab, and rehab group homes, and then they push them into society, and these people still have a group home crackhead mentality. They still have a group home crackhead mentality. And not only is this bitch a crackhead, she's a fucking prostitute. Bitch, you fucking 60 years old and you still fucking prostituting. Who the fuck wants that diseased piece of shit between your fucking legs. Who wants that shit? Any man that wants some shit like that from her, he must be destitute. But women, y'all gotta be careful out here because you know it's a lot of men out here that pay for crackhead pussy. They pay for these diseased fucking bitches and then they come back home and bring you fucking diseases. This is what they do. But the moral of the story is this. People need to mind they motherfucking business because you don't know who the fuck you coming up against. And see, this ties into be careful of fucking with a blessed one or a marked one. I did a video about that. Be careful about fucking with blessed ones. Be careful about getting in other people's motherfucking lane. So see now, since that bitch got in my motherfucking lane, I had to get in hers. And I had to expose that bitch in front of the police. And tell them that she's a crackhead, prostitute, and every motherfucking thing else. Yes, I did. Because that bitch had no business harassing my motherfucking friend. She had no business scamming elderly people out of motherfucking money. You don't charge nobody for no motherfucking food. You don't do no shit like that. Especially somebody that's in a wheelchair. You don't charge nobody for no motherfucking meals. Especially if they didn't ask you to do that. She went to that woman to do that, to my understanding. You don't do no shit like that. Yeah, this is a bit of a rant. You know, it's a bit of a rant. People don't know how to mind their motherfucking business, especially crackheads. They're always in somebody's business. They're always creeping around trying to start shit with people, trying to fuck with people, trying to find ways like rats and mice to get in. But see, I always set traps for them. See, that bitch wasn't ready. She wasn't ready for that response when she tried to call me out in a fucking meeting that we had at the community center. And she's going to say that the reason that she said something to my friend was because she had never seen him in the neighborhood before. You know, basically being a black motherfucking crackhead Karen. She had never seen him before and all this old other bullshit. Bitch, that's not why you fucking said something to him. You said something to him because you were trying to trick with him. Because he told me what you did. He told me what the bitch did. And then she approached, before this incident, she approached my mother too. And asked my mother, does your brother live in this neighborhood? Questioning people. You need to mind your fucking business. Mind your fucking business, bitch, and you will live a lot longer. Well, hopefully, I don't give a fuck if that bitch croaked now or today. I don't care. Or tomorrow. Because what you don't do is, you don't get in other people's motherfucking business. That's what you don't do. And you especially don't get in my motherfucking business. But the moral of the story, mind your motherfucking business. And stay the fuck in your motherfucking lane, crackhead. That is the moral of the story. You being a fucking crackhead, you should want to go under the radar anyway because you're already participating in illegal activity. But let me get back to what I was saying about the police. See, a lot of times because black people have been so traumatized and black people have been so abused by the policing system in America. But see, there's an opportunity for us to use our magic, whatever that may be for you. Whatever that may be for you, to use your magic so you can bend them to your will. Because there's no way that I should not. Things could have gotten a lot worse that day. And things could have gone to the left for me that day, but they did not. And that's because my spiritual protection is geared towards, or my energy is geared towards using it for the police department in my favor. Let's just say that. I don't want to give out too much. But you can do ritualistic work to have things turn in your favor. You can do things. Whatever that is, you have to figure that out for yourself and let your spirit guide you. You know what I'm saying? You got to let your spirit guide you on that. And then that way you'll be able to figure things out for yourself. You know? But mind your motherfucking business. That's the moral of the story. Okay? For that part. Now let me tell you something interesting. You know, and I really wasn't going to talk about this. But I feel like it's worth mentioning. I was watching last season of Braxton Family Values. Now, I did not see last season for reasons that you all already know. I was homeless, last year for a little while. And I just wasn't in the mood to watch that shit. Shit, I was living in a motherfucking hotel at that time. So, I went back and I watched Braxton Family Values, right? Last season. And we all know that Traci Braxton has passed away. Unfortunately. Traci was my motherfucking girl. I liked her. I know she used to cut up a lot, but she had a reason to. So, focusing, specifically on Traci. Traci was having a breakdown last season. And, it's really hard to even watch those episodes now because Traci is no longer here. And truth be told, Tamar was not the star. Tony was definitely not the star with her boring ass. Trina was not the star with her boring ass. And Tawanda definitely was not the star with her dumb motherfucking ass. And I'm calling her dumb because why do you have a complete stranger around your children and you are referring to this man, whatever. You refer to this man as your children's father when your children didn't come out of his nuts. So basically, she has cut off communication with Andre. I know what she said. That she hasn't heard from him because he wanted custody of the children. Right? So now you have this complete stranger that you don't even fucking know. And you refer to him, you are referring to this man as your kid's father. And I can already look and see that this man is not about her. He's about being on the motherfucking camera. The energy's just not right between them. But that's another story. Traci was the star of that show. Traci was the grand poopah. Wasn't Tamar. Wasn't Tony. Definitely wasn't Trina. And it ain't Tawanda. It was Traci. So, unfortunately, Traci, passed away, as we all know. But last season, well, they put it out last year. But the season that I just watched that they put out last year, they filmed it in 2020. So it was almost about 2 years ago. But we all know that they have a brother too named Michael. Michael lost his daughter Lauren. And, there were some references made. See, I'm an occultist. And I pick up on those subliminal references. And I was watching something earlier today from a sister who I watch, and she was saying that we really don't know these people. And she was talking about a lot of these entertainers and actors in general. We don't know these people. We don't know their background. She even mentioned Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen, saying that some people say they were born in Texas, some people say they were born in Louisiana, and some people say they were born in New York. Now, what I heard was, a long time ago, I heard that Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen were the sisters, or was their sister is Vanessa Del Rio, the porn star from back in the 1970s or 60s, or one of them, Vanessa Del Rio. That's their sister. Now, that's what I heard a long time ago. But it's covered up. So, we really don't know these people. We really don't. And Traci was very disturbed by the death of her niece Lauren. And she said something that was very, very interesting to me. She said, Lauren was my daughter. I lost my daughter. It felt like somebody had ripped my womb out of me. What is Traci really trying to tell us? Was Lauren really her daughter? Is that what it was? Lauren was really the daughter that Traci had when they kicked her out of the group? And her brother raised her? Is that what they're really telling us? Or here's a better question, and I know, and I'm going to be honest. I don't care what people think. Does the Braxton family allegedly, let me say it that way, does the Braxton family practice inbreeding? Because there are a lot of interesting kids in that family. There is a lot of, let's just say, interesting looking kids in that family. And we all know that incest can breed a lot of behavioral and a lot of mental impairments, including what people would call mental retardation. And Trina's kids, Tony's kids, and even Traci's children, there's just some interesting energy among them. I'm not calling them retarded. Okay? I'm not calling them that. But what I'm saying is you can see that they have problems. And usually when the bloodlines are too closely linked, meaning when relatives or when there's a history of inbreeding and incest, this is what you get. And remember, they are from the incest capital of the world, which is Baltimore. Aren't they from Baltimore? Aren't the Braxtons from Baltimore? I thought so. So what's really, like I said earlier, like the sister was saying, we really don't know who these people are. And people would be so quick. These are entertainers. We don't know these people. People are so quick to say, oh no, that's not true. They would never do that. They're from the church. Child, the church practiced incest more than any fucking entity. Especially in the deep south. And Baltimore was a main slave inbreeding port back during that time. So I'm just asking questions. These are just occult questions. Because Traci kept making references to Lauren being her daughter. And I'm not going to ignore that. And then she turned it around and said, well, like a daughter to me. No, I'm not buying that. And I'm just wondering, could Lauren have really been Traci's daughter? And is that why Traci has been so upset? Could that be the reason that took her away from here? Grief, because she lost her child. None of the other sisters really showed any emotion behind Lauren's death. Not even her father, not even Lauren's so-called father, Michael Braxton Jr. I believe that's his name. He didn't even show. When he was talking about Lauren this past season, I didn't see any, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't see any emotion that would lead me to believe that that was her father. Traci said repeatedly, I am grieving over Lauren. And when she said it feels like someone snatched my womb, you got to listen to those words. You got to listen to those words. She said it feels like someone snatched my womb out of me. So, did they sacrifice Traci's daughter and then they came back around and sacrificed her? Is this what we're talking about? Because when she said that it feels like her womb was snatched out of her, she's talking about her child being taken away from her. Now, I'm not going to say that her and her brother did the nasty and they created Lauren. I'm not going that far. But I'm wondering, what is the circumstances surrounding Lauren's birth? What is the circumstances surrounding her birth? And looking at the condition that Tony's sons are in, Traci's sons, and Trina's, looking at how interesting they act in their behaviors, it just makes you wonder, was there inbreeding within the Braxton family? Because I'm going to tell you something. Word on the curb is, too, that the Braxton family is really part of the Jackson family. I've been hearing that, too. And I didn't just hear that from the sister that I was watching that I was telling you about earlier, but I've heard that before I even heard her say it. So who are these people? That's a good question that sister raised. Who are these people? Anyway, I just had to talk about it. Everybody else is, that shit with Will Smith and Chris Rock. I'm tired of talking about it now. I don't even want to talk about it no more. That doesn't, what went on with Will Smith and Chris Rock really doesn't interest me that much. I'm not a fan of neither. I used to like Jada Pinkett back in the day, but she's kind of weird to me now. I don't know what's going on with Jada Pinkett, but that ain't the Jada Pinkett that I knew back during a different world. And back during Low Down Dirty Shame. And y'all can spam me with that motherfucking bullshit. Oh, the people change. They don't change that motherfucking much. That's like a whole new different fucking person. Anyway, that's all I really have to say. That's all I have to say. Who are these fucking people? Who are these people? Who are the Braxtons really? Is Lauren Traci's daughter? I'm just asking a question. Is that really her daughter? And did the death of Lauren, did that trigger Traci's illness? Is that why she got sick? Because grief can cause sickness. Because I got sick when my friend Christopher Berry died. I got very sick. I didn't tell nobody, but I got sick behind that. I mean sick. I just didn't tell anyone. But I got really, really sick behind that. But fortunately for me, I was able to get myself together because he wasn't my child. He was just my friend. And a very good friend to me. You know? But nevertheless, I know how grief can bring on sickness. And because she was vulnerable at that time, you know, these vultures that are lurking to sacrifice people, they came in for the motherfucking kill. I mean, look at the shenanigans that's going on with her funeral service. Her husband had a funeral service, and the mother nor any of the sisters even showed up. The brother and the father, they didn't even stay that long. So even in death, Traci was not given the respect and dignity that she was fighting for last season from her sisters. I just think it's tragic. I think it's tragic all the way around. I really do. I think it's a tragic, tragic thing. But anyway, that's all I have to say.